I didn't want to make this video, but I feel like I have to. If you've played Hearthstone Mercenaries in the past week, you've probably gone against Valeera, who is one of the newer characters to Hearthstone Mercenaries. I think, and this might be a little bit of an unpopular opinion, she's broken. I don't really want to sit here and just complain about why I think Valeera is broken. In fact, I want to show you instead using comparisons with Hearthstone Mercenaries we have in the game already. There is these three characters that are quite often regarded as the best three: Karen, Diablo, and Cookie. But I'm here to tell you that none of these characters that I just mentioned even come close to what Valeera does, and why Valeera is going to drastically shift the meta towards her, and we should probably do something about it. Do me a quick favor: if you watch this video, don't comment until you finish it, in case I already answer your question. I hope you enjoy, and if you do, make sure you subscribe. Let's do this. Look fantastic.
I'm a doctor!
The first mercenary I'm going to talk about here is Cookie. Now, Cookie is often regarded as the best mercenary at the moment because he's in almost every single comp. And as much as I think he is a very good mercenary, he's not broken or warping the meta around him. Cookie is really good because of his appetizers equipment. Just giving your friendly mercenaries +9 life is really good. It changes breakpoints, it makes things different, but it's not like it's broken winning the game for you on the spot turn one. It's just a really good thing to have to help keep your mercenaries alive longer. And Cookie also has a pretty good kit. Fish Feast being a super fast ability to get a death blow potentially is really good. You know, the Cookie's cooking for sure, not the greatest ability, but it can actually do quite a bit over a bunch of turns, and it does end up healing him, which is kind of nice. And then you have Go Fish, which is super great with Diablo, has some kind of synergistic aspects with AoE, but generally speaking is a very niche ability that you have to plan around. And that's the biggest thing about Cookie's kit, is that a lot of it you can plan around. Sure, appetizers is going to be effective at the start of the game. You can't really plan around this, but you could plan around Fish Feast. Try to make it so you don't have a good breakpoint for Cookie. Get some healing to cut out the bleed, or make sure that you have some kind of way to mitigate the bleed or finish the game as fast as possible. I mean, against Karen Diablo, if it's set up, it's going to really suck if you get Go Fished, but you could still think about a turn ahead. If they go fish, what am I going to do against it? The main thing I'm trying to get behind Cookie is that, sure, his kit is very good, but you can play around it multiple turns ahead and start thinking about what happens if they bring out Cookie. So for Diablo, I think Diablo is a lot better of a mercenary paired with something that gives him the speed manipulation that he needs. That's why Karen and Diablo is so good, because, you know, he likes speed manipulation. But on top of that, people often say, well, Diablo and Karen are in so many different comps, they must be broken. But in reality, that's not the case. It just turns out it's very easy to slot these two in almost every single comp, because you don't really need to build around them at all. All you really need is Karen and Diablo. The other really good thing about Diablo is that Diablo's really good at catching you up when you're behind. Because of the way that Fire Stomp works with Karen, you can catch up to the casters that may have won the early game, catch up, and now you're ahead, and it leads to an advantage for you, which is why Karen and Diablo are so good in a heavy caster meta, or just generally because they are good at getting you back into the game. This leads us to Karen. And Karen, in my opinion, is the best mercenary I'm going to talk about other than Valeera, because Karen is really strong in almost every sense of the word mercenary. He has speed manipulation, he's tanky, and has a lot of survivability due to reincarnation. But most importantly, he's extremely flexible. The turn you bring him out, you can Endurance Aura, or if you need to, you can Earth Stomp, and then plan ahead multiple turns and think about how you're going to use Karen to help you win the game. But Karen is a character that you can actually play around quite a bit, especially because they changed the way reincarnation works. If you kill him, it cancels his ability. You can play around his speed manipulation. For example, if he Earth Stomps your team and they kill someone, maybe you got him low enough to, you know, kill him before he gets off his Endurance Aura, like with a Cookie. Or you know that he's going to stop an Endurance Aura the turn after. Maybe you plan around that so you don't take as much damage for a potential Diablo. Or maybe you don't kill a mercenary the turn he Earth Stomps, so he can't just Endurance Order into a Diablo. There are things you can do to play around Karen. It's not like he's just going to win the game. You can do stuff to play around Karen, even though it may not work all the time. There are things you can do. This isn't from the start of the game. you could think about how Karen is going to interact with the game and how you want to plan further as the game continues. This then leads us to Valeera, who I believe is the most broken character in the game and will continue to be a problem unless something is changed about her kits. Now, all of the things I've said up until this point is being able to play around her, being able to plan further ahead, being able to actually plan your turns out leading up to a potential Karen, Diablo, or Cookie. But Valeera, usually, unless they're probably bad, starts the game off on the battlefield, meaning she's not on the bench, which means you don't plan around that. She's right there in your face immediately. And if your comp is not able to deal with Valeera turn 1, you are in a losing position for probably the rest of the game because of unnatural smoke. Now, what if I told you that Karen can go stealth, can speed manipulate throughout the whole game while also doing a lot of damage potentially to a caster or whatever it may happen to be? You'd probably be like, wow, that sounds really broken. But that's almost what Valeera is. Valeera is this character that snowballs really quickly. And that is very scary to have in the game, because if you can't deal with Valeera as soon as possible, you are always going to be behind the enemy comp that is running Valeera. Now, I know some people are going to be like, you can counter Valeera with this mercenary. And I agree with you. There are things that you can do to help mitigate the potential problem that is going to be Valeera, like Varian. You could use retaliation turn 1. Hopefully your Valeera smacks into something and then you smack it back and do a lot of damage. But then becomes another big issue that is even more worrisome than maybe Valeera herself, is the turn 1 50-50s that you're probably going to have to deal with. And what I mean by that is Grom is often used with Valeera because you could get a staggering slam off really quickly and then it combos very nicely into Valeera. But if you've ever done a 50-50 of these 2-speed spells, you may notice that they arguably decide the game right then and there from the very first move of the game. Because if my staggering slam gets to go first and Valeera gets the combo, you just probably lost that game. And that's not okay. If you lose the game on the very first move of the game, that's probably not a good thing to have in the video game. The worst part about it though is that if you don't actually end up killing Valeera turn 1 or whatever, she will remain stealth for the rest of the game, and unless you have some decent AoE or some way to actually interact with her while she's stealth, she's going to continue giving the speed manipulation up due to this equipment. And it doesn't matter if you kill another character, she'll just bring another one off the bench and they're already 4 speed faster without using a move or planning like Karen kind of has to. This is a really big issue, and it means that every single mercenary that comes out after Valeera is going to have to be looked at and be, can I abuse this with Valeera's unnatural smoke? There will be counters to Valeera, and maybe at some point in time there will be a mercenary that just hard counters Valeera, but that's not now. We are in this situation where Valeera will continue being this meta warping mercenary, because if you don't match Valeera's speed, you might just strictly lose the game from the very first turn, and it leads to very poor experiences from both sides. Even when I play Valeera, I don't feel good playing it. It feels disgusting even though I am winning. So what do you actually do to fix this problem? So these are my 2 proposed solutions in order for Valeera to be a less toxic mercenary to have in the game. First things first, and this one probably is the more applicable change, is just make it so she only gains stealth until the end of the turn. This does 2 things. 1, it makes it so that the following turn, not all the mercenaries on the Valeera side are super fast and just run through you, but that also means she just can't endlessly chain her stealth in order for her to keep getting the speed up. Maybe if this was continuously 3 speed at the start of every single turn, there is a lot more counterplay to have with Valeera, and it's not just an endless speed manipulation snowball until you lose the game. My second option is just delete her from the game, because dear God, I don't want to play against this character anymore. This is my rant on why I think Valeera should be changed or just not be in the game anymore. That would be kind of nice. Let me know what you think about Valeera in the comments down below. And again, this is just my opinion. If you disagree, that is completely okay. Thanks for watching.